Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about something very important, another very important milestone that Dogecoin has accomplished here recently. And Doge has broken a lot of records here over the last few weeks. We have the highest weekly candle closing since 2021. We are getting future contracts. We had a 9-day rally of green days on this previous leg that we're on, which hasn't been done. We've broken so many records here, even in being in the top 10, and we have another one right now, just to name some of them. We are currently at around $1.29 billion in open interest. So we're going to get into what open interest is and what this actually means for the coin, but I want to just point this out at the beginning of the video. Open interest gives you an idea of how many futures and how many option contracts are going out on a particular asset. Now, we know that we have not tapped into the futures market, so I can only imagine what these numbers would be if you added futures in there as well. And that's going to be the beauty of this whole thing is the futures. Remember, the difference between futures and options. Options just kind of gauges interest. You don't have to buy. Futures, you have to buy. So I can only imagine what the open interest would be if this were tied into the futures as well. So this is mostly option-driven data here, but it still gives us an idea of the investor sentiment. So what does rallying open interest mean? Well, that means that the investor sentiment is positive on the actual coin. They're taking out these coins. Typically, when you have increasing open interest, that's typically going to mean a bullish trend in the price action. It means investor confidence is that the trend will continue. So whatever trend that is, right? So if the options are going up, if the open interest is going up, that means that investor confidence is that particular trend that's happening with this increase is going to continue. So you'll see that in the last few days, we were charting around like 900 million for quite some time. And then over the last few days, really, we've gained over $250 million in open interest. So and what is this tied to? This is tied to the rallying that we've had over the last few days. When we came back and we had that storm back up above 15 and then shot to 18 to retest, kind of like what we've been talking about over the last few days. People are taking stakes on that. They believe that Dogecoin is undervalued, and they believe that it's going to seek equilibrium in the market soon to come. And they think that they're going to be in position to take a profit off of that. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, it's open interest, and open interest is the totality of the contracts. Obviously, not all of them are long. Some of them are short. Some of them are calls. Some of them are puts. Not everybody's positive for Dogecoin. And you're right. But we have a chart for that to also see, is there more positive sentiment going into the coin, or is it negative? So let's take a look at that right here. So I'm going to flip over. So now we can take a better look at what's going on here, really in a bunch of different time intervals as far as for what's happening inside of the coin. So we'll see that the time frame for longs compared to shorts in the 5-minute is around 2.35. Obviously, longs are 70.12% of the positions that are taken in the last 5 minutes. In the last 30 minutes, it's 2.28, 69% longs. Last hour, 69% long. Last 4 hours, 70% long. Last day, 70% long. So this will answer that question, because I know I was going to get some comments about it. This is going to answer that question. Yes, most of the positions that are being taken are bullish positions, even at 18 cents. So that means that they are betting we are going to go higher. Now, obviously, we've been taking a look at a bunch of different charts here. We're going to take a look in a moment. We are betting that the asset is undervalued, especially as these catalysts are being built around Dogecoin. Dogecoin is going to seek equilibrium. So now you see not just people who are buying and holding, but people who like to flip contracts. They are also taking the same bet. So it's just really beautiful when things come together and start to align. So let's take a look here. And as a matter of fact, before we flip charts here, because a lot of people are saying, because I made some not necessarily jokes, but I pointed out some things that on my Twitter account that once we flip 18, the 18 support is going to be the strongest support in the world. And I put the boxing memes up of between Dogecoin and 18 cent. So we do have because the beautiful thing is kind of like what we talked about with shorts, how shorts can flip their position and they can take profit and then re-enter again immediately, just to kind of say that if they're trying to avoid like a huge spike, they can kind of cancel out and move the needle a little bit, so that way it can take a new short position at a higher number versus getting killed on that gap. Longs can do that too. So what we're seeing here, the same way that shorts can swap their position to prevent from getting killed, longs can do that too, even if they're still bullish on the coin. Longs can take profit and say, okay, this is way, even if I'm wrong about it going higher, I'm still going to take profit on what I've already made. So what we're seeing here in 18 cent is matter of fact, let me put the chart up so you guys can see while I'm talking. So what we're seeing here from a few of the exchanges is we're seeing that swap between long and shorts. So, excuse me, longs. So longs are people that were long on the asset, more than likely at a much lower number. Let's just say 10 cent, 14 cent, whatever. And they believe the asset was undervalued. So right now we're meeting that resistance. So the longs are taking profit. So this is why we're seeing that bounce down below 18, back to 18, 19, back to 18. And we're doing this bounce here because the longs are taking profit. But what we just saw based off of the 5 minute, the hour, the 4 hour, the 1 day is that they're entering into new long positions. So they're closing out their previous positions, taking profit, and they're entering into new long positions to make money on the next rally up. So it's just a swap. So this is why we're seeing this here. So I imagine once that swapping calms down, we'll be able to break through around that 18 mark here. Because right now, that's the evidence that I'm seeing in the chart. And then you can also see this here based off of the liquidations that we're seeing here on the chart here. You'll see from a few different exchanges, you'll see the shorts liquidated compared to the longs. Longs are obviously going to be sells. The shorts are going to be buys. And you'll see that they are, for the most part, canceling out. Buy bid is a little higher for the long sells versus the short buys. But you'll see here that they are pretty much canceling each other out. So as the shorts are taking position, the longs are selling. So this is kind of why you see this trend in price action here, where we're just kind of bouncing around 18 and pretty much going sideways, up, down, up, down, up, down, is because we're having a lot of the bigger positions behind the scenes kind of cancel each other out. So I wanted to point this out to kind of give you an idea of what's happening behind the candlesticks, because sometimes we just can look at the candlesticks as just price action, and there's a lot of things going on that makes those candles form in those positions. So if a candle goes up, if we're looking at rejections versus open candles and closed candles, there's a lot of things going on there. It's not just long-term buy and sells. There's contracts going on these things. There's shorts, there's long, and now we're also going to have futures. So we're going to have a lot of different things playing into the role of those candles and how they form on those charts. So you kind of have to take a look at kind of both. So I want to kind of give you guys an idea of what some things I look at when I'm preparing for certain videos to kind of give you an idea of what is going on behind the candlestick. So let's take a look here at the regular charts. So here is the regular charts as far as looking at the candles and seeing that the shorts are reflecting just what we saw behind the scenes. As these candles, we're seeing this kind of swap going back and forth. The shorts aren't being aggressive, but they are taking some newer positions. So we've seen them kind of creep up over the last few days, but right now it's red, down 1.16% on the day. No aggressive positions are being taken. As we saw that longs are severely beating the short positions in a matter of, in most cases, 3 to 1 on some of the long-term time frames. Going up here for what we're looking at, price action for Doge here on the daily, we are looking at this 18 mark. Now, it's very important that we close above this. As you guys can see, most of our rejections, we have like one closure and immediately a big push down the next day above this. So it's very important that we start getting some closures at around that 18 cent mark to have that breakthrough. If we take a look at the rally here on the weekly in a moment, you'll see that once we break through that, it's going to open up that window to around the mid 20s to the 30 cent range. So Um, all the time frames are saying the same thing. 18 cent is the number to beat. We got to get some conviction above that candle. And that's when we're going to see the next rise here. And I think a lot of what we were looking at earlier in the long positions that are being taken, I think they see that as well. So that's kind of why they're taking profits here. They know that, hey, the 20s are probably going to be a battleground. Let's go ahead and take profit on some of those lower numbers that we have and enter in right here at 18 cent, so that when we have this gap, when we have this run, we'll be in great position. So I think we're seeing a lot of evidence here for the bullishness of the community, not just the buy and holders, but the people that are flipping contracts as well. Everybody's saying bullish, and we have more to go. So I love it when everybody kind of agrees here on price action, when we come together and mutually agree that, hey, the asset is undervalued, and we think that we're going to seek equilibrium here. So I think that we're going to have that. This candle is still open. Right now, they are doing their absolute best to try and push it down below 18. We'll see where we close, but this is the battleground for now, that 18, 19 cent range. The positions are being taken. So this is why I wanted to show you guys what was happening behind the scenes. So just know that even if we close at like 17, like right now we're at 17.97, even if we close there on the daily, just know that the positions are being taken behind closed doors in belief that this is going to rally. So just going to keep that in mind. Let's take a look here. Let me go to the weekly. So if we take a look here on the weekly, this is why this is such a big deal. This is why this 18 cent, 19 cent mark is such a big deal. You see this here. This puts us in, even if I don't typically have the 0.5 on my chart, but I know it would be somewhere in here around 25, 26. So this is probably so this is why I said 26 to 30, because typically I don't like to use that indicator. That's one thing about running technicals. You can choose what to run and what not to, but I know it's very popular. I just don't like to use it, but I'm giving you the numbers in there. So this is why I'm saying somewhere between 26 and 30. But breaking into this zone, this opens up. This is a big zone here. Really, this is the biggest one we've had on this particular uptrend here for the weekly. So this here is a big zone that we can fill and start getting some big price action. So this is why this is such a battleground to break into here, because that puts us in that next run up to 18 to 26 or 32 cents. So that's pretty much a double from where we are now. That's why it's such a big deal. And I think the longs, people, because if you're flipping contracts, typically you're looking at a lot of different technicals. And I think that's why we're seeing the long positions beat the short positions 3-1 right now, because they're looking at things like this and say, hey, this is a great position to be in to make some money. So I think that we're seeing this across the board as far as the people coming in and wanting to position themselves. So keep that in mind, that we are certainly building. I don't believe that we have seen the best of Dogecoin. We are chugging along toward 2 billion in open interest with virtually no futures in the market compared to some of the things that we're going to have here in the next few months. So I think that we have a lot of room for a lot of more transactions to happen and to ultimately push Dogecoin higher. If we're looking at, I can't give a projection for what the futures market is going to look like, and obviously when that happens, we're going to start charting it. But once those futures start rolling in, the biggest thing you can remember about that is that these are guaranteed buys. So those transactions will happen. The options, they don't have to, they can expire worthless. It just gives you an idea on investor sentiment, but it also gives you an idea to kind of look at contracts to see what type of positions they're taking, whether it's long or short, and you can kind of get an idea and compare that to what the charts are telling you, and overlap that with the macros and how you feel about the asset. And if you have something that's agreeing, typically, you put together a pretty good hypothesis on price action for soon to come. So that's what we're doing here. That's what we do here on pretty much a daily basis to kind of get an idea of what's going on. So that is my update for now. I want to point out again, I appreciate all of you guys. We are certainly still chugging along. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please consider do so. We're certainly going to knock out 100,000 subscribers this year. Want you guys to be in that number. Let me know in the comment section how do you feel about us breaking another record for Dogecoin and crossing 1.29 billion in open interest for the asset. That being said, I will see you guys in the next video.